everybody, welcome back to a new video. Today we're talking about streamlining, but before that, did you see my new mic? How cute is that? It's a tiny mic. It's a tiny little mic. I'm super excited. Streamline. Alright, I'm gonna be saying streamline a lot throughout the video. Let me know how many streamlines you heard. The streamline movement was an American design style. It's a very iconic American design style. So basically, after the crisis of 1929, President Franklin D. Roosevelt put together a plan called the New Deal, which was supposed to revive the US's economy after the war. So through this plan, lower classes were encouraged to buy more products. They also had more accessible products. This was the perfect opportunity for industrial design to start growing. Streamline was at the heart of this industrial design growth, and it was the first time that we were talking about a designer as a profession. And basically, this was the point where mass-produced product design was born. Following the Second World War, the US tried to help revive Europe because they wanted to make sure that they had a market to sell to, right? So in the 1950s, you notice a heavy American influence on European countries, like in France or in the UK, for example. The point was, we need people to buy the products that we're gonna make. At this time, there was a lot of hope put into building a better world through modernity, technological advancement, and scientific knowledge. It was a reaction to the devastating realities of the war, and this is exactly what I want to talk about. Design as reacting to a context. Design as something that adapts to the context. You know, this is why I love making these design history videos. I realized that people back then were just as capable, and that design was something that adapted to the context. And I think that design needs to adapt to today's context, and it already is, you know? You have eco-design, you have life cycle analysis, you have all these things, all these tools that show you that design is adapting, it's always adapting to our needs. You have a lot of people today that still think that technology is going to save us. Technology will help us. There's no technology that could resemble reducing our emissions in order to avoid, you know, these irreversible changes that we're making to the planet. Technology helped us back then revive economies and reboost life after the war, but we can't expect technology to save us all the time, you know? And so today it's a different thing that's going to help us, and that's where design needs to adapt. How are we going to develop? How are we going to change? Back to the 1930s/40s, 50s, this interest in technology is what allowed Streamline to advance the way it did. Streamline actually grew from the Art Deco movement, the idea of sobriety. Streamline took this idea of sobriety and added curves, dynamism, fluidity. Notably, this obsession with aerodynamic design. It was these designs with long, sleek lines. The products were usually horizontal with smooth surfaces and a shiny finish, like chrome. It felt like the objects were going to enable us to do things better, more efficiently. The dynamic movement was also a symbol of an optimistic future. You can really understand how this design style developed in its context. The idea of a streamlined shape, you know, it resonates with everyone. People start to imagine planes and trains. It's this idea of something going faster. A huge part of the streamlined design movement is the visual communication of speed and prowess through the products. You know, there was a lot of products like airplanes and trains and boats that needed to go faster. And so these shapes, these aerodynamic shapes that allowed to reduce the drag and to basically reduce the energy consumption and make the products more efficient, were really great because they did enable these products, these objects and these vehicles to go faster. But when you're looking at a pencil sharpener or an iron, these shapes aren't necessarily, are really not going to do anything for the efficiency of the product. The fact that, you know, these lines were so dynamic, people loved it and people bought so much of it because beyond being a good product, it was beautiful. It was kind of like a piece of art, you know. You wanted to own this product because it looks amazing in your living room, you know. So this visual communication of efficiency, of like, we're going to do this, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna get out of the war, we're gonna be able to build a better tomorrow. This is the whole soul behind, this is what Streamline is. It's all of this. It's all of this energy. You know? It's exciting. Many designers participated in the Streamline movement, but the biggest, the father, the designer who made the boldest designs in the Streamline movement was Raymond Loewy. He is known for many things, for designing almost everything in American culture. He worked with Coca-Cola, he worked with all kinds of companies to develop their new logos that were a lot more energetic and dynamic. He worked on cars, he worked on the Boeing airplanes, he worked on trains, he worked on a bunch of different objects. He worked on everyday objects like that sharpener I was telling you about. Another notable designer was Norman Belguedes. He was the designer behind the General Motors highway that basically pushed Americans to buy individual cars because the highway made it so much easier to travel around the US by car. So people, wanted to move around, people wanted to buy a new car and use this highway. And basically today we're trying to do the complete opposite of pushing people to have individual cars, especially in Paris, for example, where they have plans for, in the next few years, limiting the use of cars in the city. There are new services popping up in order to push people to have more shared cars and to forget this idea of the car as a personal product and as a customizable, personal, individual thing that you own. Streamline also pushed us to develop new manufacturing techniques because, you needed to create this uniform shape without any textures or anything, so you couldn't hide, the manufacturing technique. It had to be really smooth and really well finished. So we came up with things like metal stamping, and we came up with bakelite also, which is the ancestor of plastic, and it was really easy to mold, so to make smooth, whole shapes, that was a great material. Streamline is still a big part of the way we design today. Think about the Nike Swish logo and Nike's whole design aesthetic. All that dynamism comes from Streamline. Even Apple's sleek, smooth designs, that's all Streamline. Surprisingly though, the first people to think about Streamline came way before the 1930s. In fact, Samuel Calthorpe came up with this sleek, smooth train design that resembled none of the trains that existed at the time in order to reduce drag and improve the efficiency in as early as 1865. Well, that's all I wanted to say about Streamline design for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, like this video. If you've been around for longer, thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to share this with your friends, with people you think might enjoy it, and I will see you later. Well, I won't really see you. You'll see me later. But if you leave comments, then I'll see you later. We'll see each other later then. Alright, bye.